Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. And welcome to Deep Dive Wednesdays. I know how busy you are, so really do appreciate your time. So in this session, we're going to be looking at the flipped classroom model and how TeacherMatic can make it both practical and impactful. We're going to explore how this approach helps you make the most of reduced contact time and supports your learners' independence and maximizes the value of these face-to-face sessions with our learners. So my hope by the end of today is that you'll walk away with some clear strategies, practical examples, and resources that can help you start applying these straight away in your teaching. First of all, the flipped classroom isn't new. All right, it became popular in the mid-2000s thanks to two chemistry teachers in Colorado. So one was called Jonathan Bergman and the other person was called Aaron Sams. They recorded lessons for their students who missed class and then quickly realized that this was even more effective if all the students watched before the lesson. So since then, flipped learning has evolved. So with the rise of digital tools and AI, it's easier than ever to give students engaging material before the class and free up lesson time for active learning. So flipped learning is not the same as homework. So homework tends to recap what we've already been taught, where flipped learning introduces new knowledge outside of the classroom. So learners arrive ready to engage more deeply, whilst teachers can act as guides and facilitators. We face a challenge. We've got reduced contact time in many of our courses. So flipped learning ensures that those limited hours are maximized. So learners can take responsibility for accessing content before class, which frees classroom time for collaboration and higher order tasks. It also helps them develop independence, a crucial life skill. So the model is grounded in Bloom's taxonomy. At home, learners tackle the basics. So things like remembering and understanding, where in class, we can push them into some of the higher order thinking, more of the analysis, evaluation, and creation. So this makes face-to-face teaching more impactful and frees time for more collaboration and feedback. So this approach benefits both sides. Learners work at their own pace and become more independent, and teachers can focus on stretching and supporting students rather than delivering content. It's more engaging, more personalized, and ultimately more effective. So TeacherMatic strengthens flipped learning. So we've got the quiz generator that saves a huge amount of time and provides self-marking assessments. And we also have the worksheet generator, which even goes further, providing structured independent activities. And both can be exported to platforms that you already use. So we're going to be looking at two things. We're going to be looking at the quiz generator, and we're also going to be looking at the worksheet generator. And with regards to the quiz generator, I think this is where the flipped classroom model really comes to life, because by using the quiz generator and exporting it to many of the platforms that you already use, like Microsoft Forms, Google Forms, Moodle, the quiz becomes self-marking. So that instantly reduces your workload, but just as importantly, it also gives you valuable learning data. So you'll be able to see completion rates, who's engaging with this pre-class tasks, and also which of the questions that they found the most challenging. So this means that you can tailor your lesson accordingly. For example, you might use those tricky questions as a starter activity at the beginning of the class. So it really is, it benefits everyone twofold. It saves the teacher's time, and it also gives you meaningful insights into learner understanding before they can even walk into the class. Now, the worksheet generator, and we're going to do a demo, live demo on both of these, takes flipped learning even further. So unlike quizzes, which are great for self-marking and quick checks, the worksheets, in my opinion, allow for deeper engagement. So learners can't just guess a multiple choice answer. They need to think, write, and apply their knowledge. And you can export the worksheets as an assignment, whichever platform you use. Or you can just simply copy and paste it into a tool like the class notebook in Microsoft Teams. So while they aren't self-marking, the value is that they encourage critical thinking and effort from the learners. So the key, I think, here is balance. Quizzes gives us speed, accountability, and tracking, while worksheets bring depth and richer learning. So by using a combination of these, you can decide where each tool fits best in your flipped classroom strategy. So we're going to be looking at both of these now. So this is TeacherMatic. I know Tim hasn't yet seen TeacherMatic. So this is TeacherMatic. We're going to be looking first at the quiz generator. So I'm just going to write the word quiz in there. The multiple choice questions generator shows up. I click on the use button. It launches the generator. There's a few mandatory fields in here. And what we can do is we can put a few keywords in here. We can write the number of questions. We can select our sector. So I'll go for further education. And as easy as that, we can click generate and it generates a quiz. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this even much further, and you'll see in a sec what we're going to do. The first thing we can do is, first of all, it's really important to check and critically evaluate this, fact check everything. But as you can see how easy it is just to generate a quiz. We can also use this very important function here called refine, which is rolled out in all our generators. So if I wanted to, I can even say, make the questions more progressively harder. And I can click on refine, and now the questions are going to be progressively harder. But we can even take this further. And what I wanted really to point out is that we're going to use the additional information box to take this even further. So for example, I'm just going to copy something in the additional box here. And essentially what this is saying, it's saying each question, I'll just write question just to make life easier. Each question must begin with a short real-world vocational scenario linked to industry practice. Distractors should include one mistake, a trainee or student, I can write, might realistically make. Emphasize applied knowledge, problem solving, decision making, and the ability to evaluate practical outcomes. Right? I'm going to put that in the additional information box. Now look at these questions. I'm going to now click on regenerate and see what's going to happen into these questions. So you can use this simple quiz to differentiate and send it out to some of your more lower level learners. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this now quiz further, and now we can now send this out to some of our more able learners. As you can see, they are now scenario-based learners. But the whole point of today is the flipped classroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a video about this subject, right? And if I scroll the way down, I've got a video on this topic about algorithmic bias, okay? There it is. Now, just in case you didn't know, and we've updated this feature only within the last month, we can grab the URL and generate a quiz from that, by the way. Whereas before, what you had to do is you had to go and show the transcript, copy the transcript and paste it. You don't need to do that anymore. So for example, now, let's just exit and do that again. Click on the use button. So if we scroll all the way down, can you see where it says more about teaching here? And then what we had to do before is we had to copy and paste the transcript. And it doesn't have to be from YouTube. It can be from Vimeo, Microsoft Stream, Zoom. So whatever platform you're using, you can just get the transcript and paste it, and it'll generate a quiz. We don't have to do that with YouTube. So now we have the option, and we will be changing the labeling here very soon. We can now just paste the YouTube URL, right? That as easy as that. Now, this is a mandatory field. So no matter what, even if you put keywords in there not related to the topic, it will generate a quiz related to that YouTube video. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a full stop in there because it's a mandatory field. I'm going to change that to 10 questions. Okay. And as easy as that, click on generate. And now it will now essentially, well, it's gone to 8 questions. It will now generate a quiz based on that YouTube transcript. And there we go. Now, just like before, we can use any additional information even to make this quiz even more complex. Let's do that actually right now. I'm going to click on regenerate, and you'll see now this quiz is even more complex. So once it's generated the quiz, we need to fact check everything, of course. Once we're happy with it, then what we can do is export it to all of these formats or these platforms more like. So what we're going to show you today is how to export it to Microsoft Forms and embed that video inside Microsoft Forms itself. And to do that, we export it to Microsoft Word. Let me save that, and I'm just going to create a folder on my desktop, my very messy desktop, right? And then just save it in there. So over here, I can actually probably put the title of the video. That way, the quiz will retain that file name. So once I've done that, exported it as a Word document, and of course you can export it to other formats like Google Forms, Moodle, Kahoot, Blueket, and many others here. Once we've done that, what we need to do if we're using Microsoft Forms is access Microsoft Forms. And to do that, the best way to access Forms is just to write forms.office.com, right? The subdomain, which is Forms. So forms.office.com, you'll access it directly here. So traditionally, to create a quiz, we'd have to go to new quiz and have to do this whole process manually. As you would expect, it would take about an hour to do. We don't have to do that anymore. What we're going to do is just click on Quick Import and navigate to where we saved our file. And there it is. We double click here. We click on quiz, and then literally a few seconds, we have our quiz in Microsoft Forms, self-marking, by the way. Click on Start Review, and there's our quiz, all self-marking. If we wanted to preview it, this is what it would look like on a computer desktop. This is what it would look like on a mobile phone. And there's a very nice feature here at the end, and we can click on Present and actually use this in the classroom on a digital display, as you can see. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this much further. So this is the editing mode of Microsoft Forms, and you can do this with all the different platforms. It's all the same principle. So I'm going to click here where it will allow me to insert a new question. So I'm going to insert a new question, and you can insert really any type of question, but the type of question that I like to insert is the text type question. So in here, I'm going to say, explain algorithmic bias in 200 words or more. So the students are going to need to write what this subject is about. By default, in Forms, it's a short answer, so I'm going to turn that into a long answer. And I'm going to push this question to be the first question, as you can see. Now, where I can insert the video is I can insert the video by clicking on this icon here. when I click on this icon, let me just highlight it for you. When I click on this icon, I've got the ability to insert an image or a video. So I'm going to click on video over here, and hopefully I still have that there. There it is. There's that URL, the one I used to generate the quiz, and just click on add. And essentially now what we have is a flipped classroom activity where I would send that out as an assignment. If you're using Microsoft Teams, you can send it as an assignment or on Moodle or on Google Classroom. And essentially what the students will do is they will have to now watch this video, explain what the topic is, and then answer the questions. And the power of this means that once they complete the quiz, you're going to have all of this rich data, and then you'll be able to identify which areas were the most challenging for the learners. So you can now free up some of that classroom time at the start, then to discuss this, and then use the classroom time to do some of the more collaboration, some of the teamwork, and some of the more higher end in Bloom's taxonomy. And I think this is probably one of the most effective ways to extend that classroom time, because as you know, we have now less contact time with our learners. So they're learning new material. So when they come into the class, you're doing some of more meaningful learning. So that is the quiz generator, and you can see how easy that is. And that would facilitate the flipped classroom model for you quite easily, I think. Now, we've got the flipped classroom, and we also have the worksheet. And as I explained about the worksheet, that it takes flipped learning even further, although it won't self-mark. So the quiz is something that would be easier for teachers to implement. I think this one takes it even more further, because the students need to think, write, and apply their knowledge. So to do that, I'm just going to duplicate this tab. I get a new instance of TeacherMatic here, and I'm going to write the word worksheet in the search box. So there's my worksheet. Click on the use button, launch the generator here. So just like before, we can do exactly the same thing. So if I wanted to, I can actually create a worksheet based on that same video that I have for the quiz. So where it says more about teaching, I've got the ability to do the same. You can see even here, they've changed the labeling. We will change the labeling very soon on the quiz generator. Now, the more information you put, the better the worksheet will be for you. Right, so in the topic, I'm just going to write a full stop just like before. I can put any additional information to make the worksheet more appropriate and more contextualized. And here I need to select what type of, activities I want. So I'm going to click on, because we have a multiple choice, I'll ignore that. I'll do a short answer here. I'll do fill in the gaps. And I'll do match the pairs, okay? And then this is an option here, where relevant, add an explanation of the answers. Why not? I'll change my sector to further education. I've already inserted the URL, but as I said before, the more information you input here, the better the output. I can even choose one of the pedagogical models here. So I can go for Bloom's and select which of the domains I want. So I'll just go for these three here and just click on generate. And essentially now this is going to generate a worksheet, something that would have taken me a considerable amount of time to produce, that now would also facilitate the flipped classroom model. There's the complexity, by the way. So this is where we can differentiate, which would have taken us forever. So if I wanted to, as you can see, this is the worksheet. So in conjunction with that quiz, I can even use this. You can, of course, go and export this to whatever format you want, depending on the platforms you use. I used to use, by the way, the class notebook in Microsoft Teams. So I essentially I would just copy this and put it in the class notebook. The students will get an individual copy of it, and then they'll be able to type their answers in there. And then we can review that as a starter activity. Now, I can differentiate in platforms. So I can send this worksheet, say, to my lower level learners, if you think it's basic. And if we click on the complexity here, I can even make it more advanced or more complex. Click on regenerate. And I'm essentially differentiating in literally minutes, which was an impossible task to do before. So I can have two worksheets where I can stretch and challenge essentially some of my lower level learners and some of my higher level learners. As you can see, it's become more complex. And we can literally do that in minutes. And of course, as I said, you can export this, amend it, and then distribute it into your platforms. There are, of course, many applications to do. So once you've done that and they've done the activities at home, then in the classroom, you'll be transforming that classroom time. So teachers can spend less time lecturing and more time supporting learners individually or in groups. And this, of course, builds learner independence and confidence while maximizing face-to-face contact, which I think is so important. Now, those are just two generators, right? So beyond quizzes and worksheets, TeacherMatic has over 150 plus generators, from lesson planning, as you will already know, to feedback. And if you haven't used the feedback generator, I think it's an absolute game changer. So that essentially is the flipped classroom, and we've seen just two generators how to facilitate the flipped classroom model. And just in case you haven't seen our brand new Getting Started with TeacherMatic course, it's about 2.5 hours. It's a free self-paced online course, and it really gives you a solid foundation in using TeacherMatic. And if your responsibility is in rolling out TeacherMatic, we also have a strategy guide. And of course, all our webinars are recorded and we upload that to our YouTube channel. So if you're wondering where to access these resources, you go to teachermatic.com/links. And this is where you can access our YouTube channel. This is where you can sign up for our community webinars, our deep dives. Highly recommend that you sign up to the newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter. We get updates to the platform because it's continuously evolving and there's new generators and new features being rolled out all the time. So definitely sign up for the newsletter. And if you're interested, you can sign up for the Getting Started with TeacherMatic course here. We've got a landing page for it, and you'll get much more information about what that course is. It is a certified course where you will get a digital certificate. That really brings us to the end. So we'd like to open up, this to discussions. And if you want to come off the mic, you are more than welcomed to contribute to this conversation. And two questions is, what challenges do you think you will face with the flipped learning in your own context? So by all means, please join this discussion. Thank you.